Alright, sorry for honestly neglecting you guys on these videos. I've been quite busy with moving and at the same time just started my first week of school. So now that I'm back with the consistent schedule and I found out everything that I needed to know just to fit all this consistency stuff, I'm back at it. So we're gonna go over heat zones today. So I use heat zones a lot. This is my go-to move to finding, the right rejection. So going over heat zones. So we're going to end up seeing our traditional, accumulation phase, right? And then we're going to end up manipulating out, and then we're going to end up distributing. So what heat zones are is pretty much just overlapping PD arrays from the daily, the 4-hour, the 1-hour, the 15-minute, and the 5-minute. So if it's like an order block, breaker block, whatever it is, like if just in case, not just in case, but like say if it's a fair value gap on the daily, you'll mark it out. You could use it like a trend line, so that way it doesn't get too messy, but you'll end up seeing the heat zone once your overlapping PD arrays start forming. So once you go into the 1-hour, you want to spot the exact same rejection or where the potential rejection might be. So another fair value gap on the 1-hour that you could possibly see right here. And then same thing with the 15-minute. If there's a 15-minute gap right here, it'll be like that as well. And then let's say if we want to top off maybe a 1-hour order block that we do see, maybe go ahead and put that as well. So now we create a heat zone. So what this heat zone is going to pretty much be the strongest rejection point where all overlapping PD arrays are hitting. So essentially you want to find and spot rejection within price right here. So within overlapping PD array, you want to do that, and then you could top that off with standard deviation using the manipulative leg. So I didn't do much of a manipulation like here, but just imagine we just manipulate it out. And then we would use standard deviation for more confirmation as well. So like the sweet spot that I personally like is at -2 or the 4 or anything between these ranges here. But typically I'm always looking at the -2 and a -4. So if my -2 lines up, then I'm always going to be, marking this spot out because this is my heat zone. So I would mark it out as a, horizontal array, so that way I can get rid of all this mess. And then now let's go ahead and go over on a chart view to show you guys exactly how these these heat zones are. So starting off with the daily, I want to spot where potential rejection is, and just going ahead and using my order block to confirm this is an order block that I just seen. We're going to go ahead and mark that out. So we have a 1-hour, we have a daily order block. Then we'll go ahead and go on to the 4-hour to get a better scope exactly where the rejection is. So it looks like we use this mitigated fair value gap on the 4-hour, and then we'll go back onto the 1-hour, and I think that might be an order block as well. No, it's not. So we'll go ahead and scope out the 1-hour. I do see a last fair value gap with liquidity sticking out. So we have that. Then I'll go ahead and mark out this liquidity zone right here. Then I'll go on a 15-minute and develop more of a heat zone. So here I could use this BPR and bring it out all the way. And I could use the same thing that we have here, the last fair value gap of the series of that trend. Go like that. And then we have liquidity sticking out like a sore thumb on a 15-minute as well. So now that we create our heat zone, we're able to spot rejection or point out where price wants to reject or potentially reject. So I would end up having my my horizontal array within this liquidity point exactly where that heat zone is. And then we could also use deviation levels to pinpoint that as well. So I do see a manipulative leg here, so we accumulate and we manipulate and then we distribute. So that is a manipulation leg, so we'll go ahead and mark that out. And that's not much of a range, honestly, so we go ahead and get a bigger standard deviation, so like on the 1 hour. Yeah, there's not really any good dev pools here. Here is one from the 1 hour. But yeah, all get rated out, so it's not really any devs that I see that are really updated. I mean, you could use deviations from, previous levels, but I won't get too on that since I don't really use that. I only use updated PA. So here with this example, we don't really get exactly what I like. So I mean, here we do have some sideways accumulation, and we do manipulate out, and we do have a deviation stack, but I think I wouldn't use that, to be honest. Just being real straightforward. I mean, yeah, it does follow exactly what we do need. I mean, you could use it. Yeah, it's really valid, actually, since we follow up with a distribution like here. So my bad for not making sense. That standard deviation pool is valid. We do have a heat zone within a -2 zone right there, and we'll end up either just waiting for rejection or just bottom ticking this here. But then at that point, we just really want to focus on our checklist that we do have, and that's pretty much always finding that high time frame PD array within our bias, and then we have to find that PD array that gets respected, and that's what our heat zone is, and that's what we're finding. We're finding respectiveness within those PD arrays, and then we have a liquidity sweep at the same time. And then I'm not sure if we had SMT. I'm not gonna look for it, but if we have SMT, which is pretty much optional at this point, but SMT does give you a boost within your trade, so I always find it. And then CISD to IFEG, and I'm pretty sure that's what we end up doing on a 1 minute model. So here before the pump at 3 a.m. we touched the heat zone and that liquidity sweep, and then from there we just end up going to a distribution model using an IFEG. So we IFEG here, and then at the same time we CISD up here as well, and then we tap into the CISD, and then we just distribute all the way up after that, doing a continuation model to previous day highs, previous day highs. And that's pretty much how I use heat zones, and I always use this every single day. There's not a day that I don't use heat zones, because it is always going to spot a solid rejection with overlapping PD arrays.